Rotation, rotate device back. Are you sure? What do you mean? Interesting. Rotation. I didn't like this vertical rotation, but we'll do so. Today is 31st of August 2025. Um, I would like to talk about um, intercession. Once I want to list the related verses and showed on the screen. Well, it will take some preparation. Therefore, I decided just a short talk about intercession, the belief of intercession. According to the Quran, belief in intercession, that someone, a holy person, a great human being, will save you from God's judgment, is shirk, means polytheism. Throughout history, we see the arguments, debates between messengers, prophets, rational monotheists, and polytheists. We find out in the Quran many examples that polytheists believe that God is not sufficient and there are other creatures of God that will save them from God. This is a mythology, a big lie. It is insult to God in many ways. Chapter 2, verse 48 categorically reject this idea of intercession. All intercession belong to God. God controls everything. No one can save you from God. The Quran asks polytheists during time of Muhammad, who created you? They will say Allah. They will say God. Who is providing provisions for you? They will say Allah, God. Well, Allah is not a proper name, by the way. It is Arabic for the God, for the first cause, for the creator. In every language, there are certain words used to depict God, the creator of the universe. Therefore, God is not an Arab God. It's not kind of vibrations coming from your mouth. Allah, or a few a few kind of line letters. It is silly. God sent messengers to every community, every nation, not every community, every nation in their own language. But what about this? The verse follows up, and then they say, well, these are our intercessors. I need to walk. I have been sitting down here. Our intercessors. Interesting. And God rejects their belief system, their false accusation attributing to God. And now the same exactly, the intercession that is being rejected by the Quran is accepted by Sunnis, Shiites, and also, of course, Catholics, Protestants, all polytheists. They believe that some holy people will save them from God. And they use this verse, من الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه. There is an exception, only with God's permission. And then, who can be that person? Of course, top person is Muhammad. He's the biggest idol. He must be saving us. Well, that's an exception, in fact, a little hole left to expose hypocrites. The Quran's language is beautiful, very interesting. Watch. It is hypocrites, they find a hole there. They think they can get around the mythology, the big lie of intercession in this exception. However, this exception is qualified in another verse because the Quran is related, is whole organism that verses are connected to each other. You cannot just take out of the context one verse, or there is another verse explaining that verse. You have to put all the related verses put together and then come up with conclusion. In any even law, if you study law, you find out you cannot just based on a single rule, you cannot make decisions that are related other articles that explains it, limits it, defines it, and therefore you cannot just take one. The same with the Quran. And the other verse says, those who God give permission to become a middleman, وَقَالَ الصَّوَابَ, they tell the truth, only truth. They testify to the truth. Intercession is rejected as a multiplier, like zero. Intercession considers zero. It's not right side of a number. It is on the left side. It has no impact regarding the decision, God's decision. Only tells the truth. For example, the only intercession of Prophet Muhammad is mentioned in the Quran in chapter 25, verse 30. وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ, and the messenger said. It is about future. The Quran uses past tense for the future in many occasions, especially about hereafter, as if it happened. And also reminds us that time is really relative. It is another issue. وقال الرسول, and the messenger said, يا ربي إن قوم اتخذوا هذا القرآن مهجورا. O my Lord, my people have deserted the Quran. That is the intercession of Muhammad. If you are expecting intercession, Muhammad save you from God? Well, here is the intercession. The only intercession, that exception that God accepts, is testimony, witnessing as a witness to the truth, and they have to tell the truth. And what intercession means, let's think about it. In the day of judgment, you are facing God, and you say, well, I didn't think for myself. You gave me mind, brain. I delegated my decision to others. The Quran uses the word sadatana wa akabirana, our great holy people and our great people, alims, ruhban. The Quran says, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم. They have attained lords, their scholars and their religious clergymen besides God and Jesus. It happens. And Jewish people did the same. Their rabbis made up millions of laws and rules in the name of God, and the same with Christians, and the same with so-called Muslims, Sunnis and Shiites. And what does that mean? You are facing God. In order intercession be meaningful, that someone will save you from God, that means you think that God doesn't know you as much as the intercessor. He's more knowledgeable about you, Muhammad, the dead Muhammad, who have no clue about you, knows more about you than God knows about you. Therefore, he will tell God, inform God about you first. Intercession means you are denying God's knowledge. You don't trust that God knows you. You think that a dead person, a human being like you who died, who have no clue about you, will tell God about you that you are a good guy. 2, It is denial, rejection of God's mercy. You think that God is not merciful enough, is not Rahim, but the guy that you worship next to God, in fact, you glorify Muhammad more than God, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It is also a distortion of meaning of salli ala. Salli ala means to support, to be in connection with when he was alive. And interestingly, there are two other verses, you ignore those other verses, that God also did salli ala believers, huwa alladhi wa malaikatuhu yusalluna ala nabi. Correct? Oh, no, هو الذي وملائكته يصلي عليه هو الذي ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور هو الذي وملائكته يصلي عليكم ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور. God and his angels are doing salat to you, to believers. Maybe I somehow didn't remember the words of the verse. I knew very well. And Salli ala is mentioned there too, that believers, God and angels do Salli ala. I deliberately do not translate so that the X, the meaning of the X, you will understand from context, to save you from darkness and take you to light, to guide you. And then another verse tells Muhammad to do Salli ala the Russian monotheists, Salli alayhim, you do salat on them. Salli alayhim, inna salataka sakanan lahum. Your support is good for them, it calms them. Interesting. And the word salat is defined in the Quran beautifully, better than any dictionary. وَمَا صَدَّقَ وَمَا صَلَّى لَكِنْ كَذَّبَ وَتَوَلَّى. صَدَّقَ صَلَّى وَمَا صَدَّقَ وَمَا صَلَّى did not affirm and did salat, let's say, X, did not do X, but denied the opposite of the affirmation, and watawalla, and turned away. That means salla, the X, whatever you don't mean it, the opposite of turning away means be interested, be in contact, support, being in connection. Simple. Anyway, and then they say Muhammad is more merciful than God. Therefore, one means that you don't trust God's knowledge. The person who does intercession is more knowledgeable than God, or that person is more merciful than God, or he's more forgiven than God. But in fact, the verse in the Quran denied this idea that Muhammad is more merciful than God. فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكَ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. It is a rahmat, it is a, how do you say? Rahmat means compassion. It is love, that compassion from your Lord. It is because of the compassion given to you from your Lord that you are soft on them. That means Muhammad's compassion is from God. It is God created us and gave us sense of compassion. And how can someone, a creature, will be more compassionate, more rahim than his creator? That Muhammad will save you from God's injustice or stern punishment. Another one is, what else? Another, you don't trust God's judgment. God says God does not unjustly treat anyone. God does not judge unjustly. And many verses of the Quran, you don't trust those verses. You don't trust God, that God will judge you properly. You think that God will unjustly punish you, and Muhammad is more just than God, or Jesus more just than God. This is incredible. Absolutely, anyone who trusts in God, Iman means trust, Amin, trustworthy, means rational monotheist, a person who trusts in God based on evidence, never ever will doubt God's knowledge, the creator of the universe, the creator of poor Muhammad and us. Poor us, we are only human creatures, servant of God. Muhammad was servant of God. And they never claimed such a thing. Jesus never claimed such a power to save you from God. In fact, they all pray to God. They ask God forgiveness for forgiveness. But clergymen idolized the very iconoclast who rejected clergymen of their times, who wanted to create intercessors between God and individuals. The reason of intercession is manipulation, is exploitation, because clergymen, if they create a holy creature like them, a human being in the past that has divine powers, in fact, save you from the creator of the universe, they embed in your mind a satanic idea that another human being can have divine power, save me, and after idolizing Jesus or Muhammad or Ali or Veli or this and that, then they can insert themselves, because now they idolize a human being. Well, when you start idolizing one single human being, the second one, the third one is very easy. You see Muhammad and his Sahabas, supposedly friends, all of them supposedly went to heaven, which is against the Quran. The Quran says, وَمَا صَاحِبُكُمْ بِمَجْنُونَ. Sahib means friends. Some of them were hypocrites, some of them were mushriks, and some of them were great guys. And they enter Muhammad's friend's name. In fact, in Masajid, they put next to God's name, Muhammad's name, an idol. It doesn't mean it must be a kind of a sculpture or a concrete or halwa. They made up so many stories, but during the time of Muhammad, there were no concrete idols like sculptures and stuff, statues. It was abstract. لات منات عزى تلك أسماء سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم. These are only attributes your and ancestors made up, the Quran says. And therefore, they made up later supposedly idols, concrete idols in Mecca and stuff. They broke them. No. It was during the time of Abraham. Meccan idol worships were very like Sunnis of our times. They believed in God, they believed in intercession, they thought they were following Abraham's teachings, and they did even salat. وَمَا كَانَ صَلَاتُهُمْ عِنْدَ الْبَيْتِ إِلَّا مُكَانْ وَتَصْدِيًا. They distorted the meaning of mukan, tasdiya too. Tasdiya means repulsion, the distortion, and muka means hypocrisy, going under the ground and hiding themselves like moles. And you look at the Quran Reformist translation for the correct meaning of them. I discuss in the footnotes how they mistranslated some of the key words in many verses. Anyway, I want to give an example of hadith, how it is made up to really justify intercession, which is pure insult to God and also his messenger, because messenger never claimed such a thing, such an authority. The story of Miraj, ascension to heaven, is the longest lie in Bukhari, and it's also is mentioned in other so-called hadith, Sahih hadith books. They are fabricated centuries after Muhammad by Ibn Falan, Abu Falan, big liars, the enemies of Prophet Muhammad. They have insulted God and Muhammad in many, many, many hadiths. Of course, there you will find some good ones. Of course, devil will not serve you poison, just an ugly, stinky stuff. They will mix it with some candies. If you are an idiot, you will not examine it, and you will just see a few candies. Oh, it tastes good, and you will eat all that poison. And that's it. And Miraj is one of the most stupid hadiths. فبأي حديث بعد الله وآياته يؤمنون. Which hadith besides God and His ayah, His signs, would you believe? God says. And the word hadith, interestingly, throughout the Quran, is almost always negative. When it is used for the Quran, Quran is ahsan al-hadith, but the other hadith, hadith and yuftara. In that one, God supposedly orders the ummah of Muhammad to pray 50 times a day, 50 times. It's not 50 units. 50 units is difficult to do, but you can do it. It's possible. But 50 times a day, it is impossible. It means every 28 minutes, day and night, on 24 hours basis. You will not be sleeping. You will not be working. You will not be doing anything, except every 28 minutes, you will have one prayer, if we divide it equally. It's incredible. It's impossible. No human being can do that. Especially when you go to a restaurant. My gosh, you cannot do anything. Let's say if you spend 8 times for sleep, for work and stuff, still it is becoming every almost 18 minutes something. 17, 18 minutes every. And they don't have really clocks like our clock. They have to look at the sun for the timing. They won't be able even to time. It's not a matter. Basically, day and night, they will be just doing exercise. And this contradicts the verses of the Quran. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. God does not impose a person something beyond his capacity. Wus'at is different than quwwah. Quwwah means power. Wus'at means capacity. Quwwah is something a human being can determine through their decisions and experiences, habits. They can have lower than capacities. Always quwwah is lower than capacity. It is what a human, through their own decisions and actions, they end up with quwwah. They can be very weak. In fact, their capacity is higher. But they function below their God-given capacity. But God knows the capacity of human. We all can know there are certain limits of humanity. Every human, regardless how they try, they want to do, they will not be able to do certain things as a human being. And therefore, God does not impose on any person beyond his or her capacity. And therefore, 50 times a day is absolutely impossible any human being can do all their life. Maybe, one day or 2 days we'll be able to do 50 times and without sleep, without work, but you cannot do it 365 days a year, all your adult life. Impossible. Anyone says possible, I would love them to do this one for 1 week. Not, not 1 year. 1 week, 50 times prayer a day. Therefore, they insult to God. They say, God, no, You didn't keep your promise. Here it is in Mi'raj. You did this. You imposed on us 50 times prayer. Guess what? Muhammad couldn't calculate, couldn't know that it is impossible for his ummah to pray 50 times a day. And he's in seventh heaven. He gets this instruction, and he goes down. Lo and behold, in sixth heaven is Moses. Moses is sixth heaven. And Moses says, what happened? Curious guy. And Muhammad tells him about 50 times prayer a day. This is hadith in Bukhari, biggest liar. One of the biggest liars, enemies of God and Muhammad. Anyway, and then Moses tells him, no. Muhammad, you don't know how to do mathematics, simple arithmetics, elementary level arithmetics. It is impossible. Your ummah cannot do it 50 times a day. Oh, Muhammad. Muhammad doesn't have good mind. It's just IQ level, according to the hadith, is below moron. And Moses, thank God, he's there in sixth heaven. And then Muhammad goes up to God. He says, Moses said, my ummah cannot do this. It's too much, too many prayers a day. And God says, okay, 40. Now the number of prayers a day is 40. Muhammad is like a union leader negotiating now between God and Moses, get advice. Moses is an advisor, smart advisor. Muhammad is a good guy, but his mind is not working well. Without Moses, who would accept it 50 times prayer would be in deep trouble. And then Moses says, what happened? Says, well, God went down to 40 prayers a day. No, it is still too many. And then goes up again, down again, up again. This is a stupid story, only for idiots. If you are impressed by this story, you are an idiot. And unfortunately, religions turn normal human beings, even sometimes very smart humans, into idiots. When it comes to the religion, people, you see double personality. A very smart guy, an engineer, a professor, very smart. When it comes to religion, they are idiots. They are infantilized. Infantilized? I think wrong pronunciation. Anyway, and then goes up and down. Finally, God says 5 times prayer, and then Moses says, this is even too many. And Muhammad says, I am ashamed to go negotiate again. This is one of the most stupid stories. There are so many. Any hadith that you kind of little bit think about it, and you find that they fall apart. And through this one, they do intercession. And this idea of intercession not only brings clergymen as mediator, the most corrupt people, the worst people on earth, professional clergymen who make living out of religion, who make living and gets prestige out of making the most stupid and horrible lies in the name of God and messengers between you and God. And also usually they are in cahoots with the oppressors, with the pharaoh, with pharaohs, with dictators, with the corrupt politicians. Usually they are together into bamboozling you and hypnotizing you, and basically they plunder the resources of the country. You pay so many taxes. You end up working day and night, but they wave the holy book and flag, and the clergyman praises their leader, and you become a slave. This is their job. And also, at the same time, brings an idea that by merit, if you cannot attain something as an individual, you bring someone else that will favor you, will help you attain position or money or business, anything. the so-called Muslim world or Catholic world is so corrupt because of this idea. The more religious you are, the more you believe that intercession, not only in hereafter, in this world too, bring someone else in between so that get advantage. Okay, where am I? Is there anyone else here? Okay, I'm going to finish it soon. That's my take on intercession. In sum, the idea of intercession, that someone, a human being, will save you from God, is absolutely made up by devil, and it is to create a polytheistic religion where clergymen are middlemen between you and God, and they are the worst people, like corrupt politicians. And the Quran rejects that idea clearly and makes an exception. The only exception, if an intercession happens, it only is 0 on the left side. It has no impact on the decision. It's only testifying to the truth. Testimony. Truth to the truth. Accept the truth. Know the truth, so that truth will set you free. That's the reality of the intercession. And also the idea of intercession is not trusting God's knowledge, not trusting God's mercy, not trusting God's forgiveness, not trusting God's judgment. It is all rejecting, denying God's judgment. It is basically, it is kufr. It is shirk, means polytheism. Okay, I hope that you understood. My English recently is worse than before because I have keep speaking in Turkish more frequently. It impacts my thing. Okay, thank you. Peace. And by the way, at Academia, you can see my books and articles for free. Share this message, liberate people. Inshallah, one day I would like to talk about the Hajj, very important distortions being made. Hajj means debate, is an annual debate conference. Within 4 months, you can have multiple conferences on different subjects. It is for all humanity. And all the key words, terminologies have been distorted. And we would like to talk about that. Inshallah, also the difference between Iman, Mu'min, and Muslim, that's also being confused. That's also an important issue. Inshallah, later we'll talk about that. Peace. How can I close this one?